What happens when power forgets its mandate? When elected leaders begin to believe their role is to manage the public rather than serve it. You get betrayal dressed in pragmatism. You get secret treaties cloaked in diplomatic jargon. And sometimes, just sometimes, you get stopped, not by the press, not by Parliament, but by one man with conviction and another with a crown. Keir Starmer's aborted EU summit is not a routine political hiccup. It is an indictment of how far political elites are willing to go to override the will of the British people. Behind the polished podiums and cooperation slogans, a re-entry plan into the EU was being drafted, quietly, covertly, arrogantly. Starmer's government didn't intend to debate it. They intended to deliver it, pre-packaged, disguised, and without a single democratic checkpoint. That is not leadership. That is subversion. The British public voted to leave the European Union, not in confusion, not as a tantrum, but as a collective, conscious decision to reclaim sovereignty, restore accountability, and reject the supranational elite project that the EU has become. Since then, much of Westminster has treated that decision not as a mandate, but as a mistake to be corrected over time, slowly, subtly, and behind closed doors. That's exactly what was happening, until it blew up. Let's not understate the severity of what was nearly executed. Draft clauses allegedly handed legal oversight of UK affairs back to the European Court of Justice. Taxpayer-funded defense programs under foreign command. Mass youth mobility schemes. Essentially reinstating open borders under pretense of cultural exchange. Quiet realignment with Brussels' regulatory structures. The EU gets its rules in place. The UK gets none of the votes. It was Brexit in reverse, all engineered without a single vote in Parliament or the public square. And then, Farage. Say what you will about the man, and many have, but Nigel Farage has once again proven himself political disruptor of historic proportions. While Labour strategists were preparing media spin, he was organising whistleblowers, tracking policy drafts, and, in a masterstroke, briefing the only man in Britain whose symbolic authority could freeze a runaway policy. The king. That one meeting exposed it all. What followed was not just political collapse, it was a reckoning. The monarch may be neutral in public, but to think he cannot wield influence when alarmed is to misunderstand the nature of power in Britain. That power was exercised carefully, yet decisively. The summit was stopped. Starmer was blindsided. And the British public, for once, saw what was really going on before it was too late. Critics will scream about overreach. They'll claim the king's involvement breached democratic convention. That is rich, coming from those who tried to bypass democracy entirely. When a prime minister prepares to trade sovereignty in secret, the crisis is not the leak, it's the plan. The real democratic breach is not a palace conversation, it's a backroom betrayal of a national vote. Starmer has lost more than just a policy skirmish. He has lost a political illusion he spent years constructing. The mask of moderation, of reasoned centrism, is shattered. He was not trying to pragmatically manage Brexit. He was preparing to nullify it, not through debate, not through referendum, through bureaucracy, diplomacy, and deception. This isn't about Europe anymore. It's about trust. It's about consent. And it's about the creeping rot at the heart of political elitism. The belief that the public cannot be trusted with the truth, and therefore must be guided quietly, slowly, toward the correct conclusion by those who know better. It must stop. It can stop because this moment, explosive, unprecedented, and humiliating for Labour, proves something critical. Intervention works. Exposure works. Political orthodoxy can be cracked open by those who refuse to play by its rules. Farage didn't need a press conference. The king didn't need a statement. Their actions did the talking. And the country listened. Now is a time for a reckoning, not just for Starmer, but for every figure in British politics who thinks democracy is something to be managed instead of honored. The public must demand full transparency on every EU-related discussion, every draft, every clause, every meeting. Parliament must be forced to debate any move that touches our national sovereignty. And political parties must be reminded, your job is not to trick the people into submission. It is to represent them. This isn't over. The forces that want Britain back under Brussels' wing are patient, persistent, and well-resourced. But so are those who believe in a sovereign, independent UK. The tide may have turned, but it needs to flood the entire system. No more secrets. No more betrayals. If the political class won't protect Britain's sovereignty, others will. And this week, the country saw exactly how that's done.